So good afternoon, guys. Yeah, I wasn't talking, so you can hear me, okay? Uh, my name is Abhi. I'm going to be kind of giving this webinar on designing your life. Before we kind of dive into the content of this, I just want to kind of make sure that you all are on the line, right? So it's kind of a bit eerie talking into the Indian Ocean. So if you could give me an aha or a grunt or a snore, which is a noise I typically hear on a webinar, I'm perfectly okay. Yes, Seema. Thank you. Thank you for acknowledging. That works. Okay. So we've got an hour and a half. I'm not sure that we may need that time. I'm going to be talking for about 45 minutes. Then the rest of the time I will be taking questions. So if you have questions, just kind of put it in the chat box and I'll answer it for everybody. So let's start. The whole presentation that I have right now is centered a bit around my life. It's my story, and you'll see some of the slides I've used, some of the templates I've used are basically my work as well. So even this cover page you see, that is me with my work view and my ideas and things like that. So it's a very personal experience. So about 3 years ago, me and my wife went to Stanford to attend a program called the Dci Program. Now the DCI is actually has been set up in Stanford to help you with your second innings. The logic, simply put, is that people are living longer. So even after you stop doing your first innings, which is when you earn your money for your mortgage and your college kids payments and all that, you are done with it by the age of 55, if you're lucky before that age of 50. You still have 25, 30 years after that of a very healthy life in which you can actually do something which is true to your calling. So the DCI program actually helps us think through that. It's basically you go through the program. They center the program around your purpose in life, if you have one. If not, they will help you with it. They build a community for you, which basically you have 35 students, 35 people like you who are also going through the program. Now, this program actually made a big difference in my life, and I think the reason. Sorry, let me just move to the next page. Yeah. So the reason you can see that in my life story here is that the designing a life piece, actually the workshop we went threw up so many options, which then I basically managed to use, which is what I'm doing right now. So I'm basically an engineer, MBA from IIM Bangalore, engineering 87. After I did my marketing in Bangalore, I moved to my corporate career, which was sales and marketing, business-led stuff. And then in 2016, we ended up in Stanford, late 2016. So the program was 2017 and 2018. After that program, suddenly you can see the last sign on there actually talks about something completely different from corporate sales and marketing. Thanks to the program, I kind of, as well as the Designing a Life workshop, which we went through during the course of the program, I'm now setting up a social venture in Singapore. I'm a mentor for a few startups here and in the US. I am on the NGO board of a couple of NGOs, and surprising, something which I did not think at all was possible, I am a writer. I do publish some articles. I just finished a book on our trip in the US. We did a cross-country trip across the US, a road trip, and it's been written from my dog's point of view, so it's kind of a bit interesting, I think. Anyway, so I did not realize that I had this writing talent, and I never actually did anything to nurture it during my entire life. But the designing a life thing actually threw it up that maybe I do enjoy writing. And as we go along, I will show you through which parts of the toolkit I discovered that I do enjoy writing. So for me, the designing a life was a very, very important piece, and hence I thought that it might be a good idea to just share it, so that if any of you would like to even attempt it or try to go through it, it's very entertaining, it's very nice. Okay, so here it is. I'm sure all of you heard of design thinking, right? It is a mantra come out of Stanford, which basically says the way to do any design is to prototype it, is to build your way forward with it, is to just put it down, and instead of just analyzing it to death and thinking about market potential or any of those things, you just kind of build it out there, prototype it, and see what reaction you get from your customers. So designing a life is something similar. It is prototyping your life ideas. And towards the end of the talk, I will also talk about how that is possible. Because it's a very strange concept. How do you prototype something that you want to do without doing it completely? Well, there are ways to do it, and I will talk about that towards the end. Well, the other kinds of thinking you see are business thinking, which is optimizing a way forward, research thinking. I don't think those. It's basically the point here is that it is all around prototyping. Okay. Now, when you go through this process, it is very important that you have an open mindset. And the reason I say that is that when you start unlocking who you are, what activities you enjoy, you'll be surprised at some of the things that pop up. Like in my case, writing popped up, and I never thought that I would enjoy writing, but it did pop up, right? So it's good to have an open mindset. You should be curious. It basically, when you have an open mindset, you should be like a little kid, curious in terms of what it. Always ask the question why. Why is something like this? And as I was told by one of the professors in Stanford, he asked me a question: when did you stop being curious? And basically, I told him when I entered school in India, because they basically hammer the curiosity out of you. In a way, it's good. In a way, it's bad. I guess when you're as old as I am, it is bad. When you're 20 years old, it is good because it helps you with life as you move forward. The discipline helps you. The second thing is you reframe problems. Again, this is the most important part of how you decide to design your life. Any designing starts basically from the question of why do I want to do it, or what is the problem I face? Why should I do what I should be doing? And if that is not even articulated properly, it is unlikely that you will be able to come up with some decent solutions for it. So again, we'll talk about that later. So you can actually you'll be able to actually see through the why it is important to actually reframe the problem. Let's talk about the problems. The other thing is try stuff. We talked about it, so I won't spend too much time on that right now. The two other things are ask for help. Designing is a collaborative process, and unlike anything else, if you do think of designing a life, maybe you should ask your wife what she thinks about your plans. Maybe you should ask your parents. Maybe when you're old enough, you should ask your kids, because they should have a view. And in all likelihood, you will get laughed at like my wife did, but she also supported it in some other manners. You can ask your relatives. So it's basically a collaboration process, and it is for understanding, and the idea is that it helps you design your life together. Okay, it's not to be done in solitude. And no, it's a journey. It's a process. It's not a point A to point B. The whole toolkit, as you will see as you move along, you can grab any, you can pick up any piece of the toolkit and use it. It's not sequential in most regards, in most aspects, okay? You can just pick up one of the things and work on it, or not pick up, just go straight to your plan and just do it. So the whole idea of the toolkit is that it's completely modular and you can use it any which way you like to. So you all know this is the design thinking process, right? So forget the accept part of it, which is right there in the beginning. To the right, empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. This is what any typical design thinking teacher will tell you, or you would have seen it when you work, if they teach you design thinking. The whole idea is understand where the user is coming from, which is the empathize part of it, live their life. So if you're designing, like let me tell you another story here on empathize. So when I was at Stanford, one of the engineering kids there, they were doing a project on trying to help an old lady with something to pick up things that she would drop on the floor. You're old, right? So you tend to drop a lot of things. She could not bend to pick it up, and she was living alone. So the only option she had was wait till someone comes home for them to pick up her papers, her spoons, whatever she managed to drop on the floor, because she just couldn't bend. Now, in the earlier design process, when they were starting to think about how they talked to her, she was seated and she was talking to them. So they didn't quite realize that she had problems picking up things just by not bending. The biggest problem she had was picking up paper. She would drop paper, she would drop her bills, and she was not able to pick them up because nothing could pick up paper. So in the first iteration, they got something with a walking stick, which was like a pair of claws. And they would pick up most objects, but they would not help her pick up the paper. So when they went back, they said, oh, maybe we are doing it wrong because she can't pick up paper with this. So they actually saw her trying to use the prototype and discovered that they need to go back and redefine the problem statement. All this happened because they actually were in her shoes when she was using the prototype, and they realized that she could not pick up paper with that prototype. In the case of designing a life, this empathize piece is accepting who you are. I mean, you are technically in your own shoes, right? So it is, I need to accept who I am, and I need to understand who I am. So that's the part of empathize, which is part of the design thinking, which that's why I put accept as a different box here. Okay, so Oprah Winfrey said this. She said, what's a calling? It is something that lights you up, lets you know that you are exactly where you're supposed to be, doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing. And the philosophy behind designing your life is that it is continuous. You can keep doing it as often as you want to, but also it resonates with you spiritually, that yes, I'm in the right place, I'm doing the right thing. This is what gets me satisfaction, this is what gets me hope, this is what I enjoy doing. So I think she said it pretty right there. So let's talk now about the first part, which I just mentioned, about the empathize and the accept. Now within this, there are 3 or 4 tools. Okay, the first one is something of what you call the love, play, work, and health dashboard. I think that the play and health is okay. Let me just the work and that's good. That's good. The work and the health that was cut off, so I just kind of up the slide a bit. As you can see, the page in the middle is my workings on what I was doing, and the whole idea of this dashboard is for it at that time was for me to understand what was I doing with these 4 aspects, because they are kind of 4 dashboards, 4 meters. You kind of write down some stuff around work, write down some stuff around play, and then you decide what benchmarks to put on the gauge. As you can see, for me, the health piece was pretty good. The work, love, and play piece is not, it's kind of reduction a bit. But the whole idea here is that this gives you a good indicator of uh, what under love, what do you put, right? Uh, what is it that gets you going? What is it that gets you out of bed? What is it that, it's kind of, it helps you understand different aspects of what you want to do. Okay. I don't know, I'm getting a few chats which says that you cannot hear properly. Is it all good, or is it an issue with the network? Uh, okay for me. Can hear. All right, that's good. Thank you so much. Okay, good. Perfect. Okay, everybody's awake. Lovely. uh, okay, so let's talk about the next tool, right? I think this is the true compass of your life. And I personally found this to be the most difficult to fill. Because the whole thing here is, what is your work view? In the sense that, why do you work? What is the meaning of work for you? Where does money fit in? Where does job satisfaction fit in? Where does why do you have to do it? Those kind of things are the questions that define your work view. And the whole idea then is that you understand what drives you to work. Your life view, on the other hand, I personally found that very, very tough, because it's kind of philosophical view of what your life is, what your values are. There's things like, is there a God? What is good and what is evil? How do you fit into this world? And as you can see, at least from my graffiti there, it's kind of a bit here and there. But the whole idea is, it doesn't matter. I think it's good for you to just put down how you view life. Where does family fit in? Where does relations fit in? Where does work fit in? Where does play fit in? And it basically helps you just understand what your view is on life. Now, the thing to do this, after you do this, and honestly, when you do this, I've adopted a method which is kind of like graffiti. But you could just write a whole 250-word document about it. It could be like 2 pages. So it just helps you articulate what you think your life view and what your work view is. The whole idea is that after you do this, you gotta look at it and you talk to people again within your close circle and say, which part of it is aligning, which part of it is complementary. If you are somebody who likes a balance of life, and like me, who likes work-life balance, right? Even though that concept may be a bit shady, I did try through my whole career to do a work-life balance, right? For me, coming home satisfied at the end of the day was much of more importance than career progression. For example, I was not willing to give up personal life to slog at the office so that I could become a managing director in 20 years. So you can see that kind of aligning. So my work view was centered around the fact that I need a balanced life as well. And I needed to be skilled. You can see a word called discipline in my work view, which is basically do it even if you don't like doing it, because that's what you're paid to do. You can see the same thing kind of reflecting in my life, that discipline is good. So there's some places where there's alignment, some places are complementing. You'll also discover that there are some places where there are clashes, where you will seem a completely poles apart. Like, for you, maybe in work view, money is really, really important, whereas in life, you think money is irrelevant, right? Relationships can be better than life or whatever. The other thing to understand in this also is which one drives what. Does your work view drive your life view? Does aspects of your life view drive work view? And how does it actually interplay? Now, when you get this, and when you reflect on this, you will see a pattern emerge. And if all of us are IIM graduates, I think you're pretty smart. So you will get a view of what your life looks like. And it can be a revelation at times. If you know yourself well enough, well, hey, it just reinforces what you know about yourself, which is kind of good in a way as well. The other tool after this on your is called a good time journal. This I had enjoyed doing the most. It is brilliant. It's basically, it's very simple to do. It's tedious, but it's fun. As you can see, this good time journal is all about activity. It's literally about activity. It is not it is not at all about overarching thing. Like you see, I wrote Zen walk. I mean, Zen is my dog, by the way. And what does Zen walk mean? And then later on in another part of the journal, I'd actually gone on and detailed it. You have to be a lot more specific in terms of what you're writing on that activity and why you enjoy it. So the two parameters there are: is it energizing and is it encouraging? So the whole idea is, does it give you energy and does it give you engagement? So are you engaged with that activity or is it blankly? So in my case, let me just take this example again, just to be clear. The walk with my dog was really up there. And the reason it was up there was that I loved it when we could go off leash in a park. And I would be just strolling along. My dog would be running around up here and there around me, sometimes a bit far away. But I would be thinking. I would be just thinking about things. I would be looking at things. To me, it was like being in a different zone. So for me, that whole thing with the whole relationship with the dog and how it was working out, what that activity meant was very high on energy and very increasingly high on engagement. So you can see the bars, right? The dials are very, very different. The second thing was travel essays or books or whatever, writing. To me, that was really, you see, on both sides, it was really high on engagement and really high on energy. Now, when you do this, you have to do it for maybe a couple of weeks for you to get an idea of what are the things you do. If you're somebody like me, it requires a lot of discipline. Oh, thank you, TJ. Yeah, it's a perfect book. In fact, you should buy the workbook. So, to me, it is actually around writing it down, and then after 2 weeks, you don't do anything with it for 2 weeks. You just write down everything and close the book, right? You take it up and you suddenly look at things and say, oh, I didn't know this. This activity works. Which then you map to this worksheet on the other side, and you can see the ups and downs and the blues and the grays and all that, right? And you can see where stuff was, at least in my case, where the dog walking was, where the writing was, and things like that. So again, to even find out what, you can just pick this and say, forget that LV, the love play work, LPWH work, dashboard, forget the earlier one I talked about in terms of work view, life view. Even if you do this one, it actually really helps you find out what gets you going. You know, what is it that I love doing and what is it that I hate doing? And you can clearly see the contrast. And that will actually play up into how you design what you want to do in the future. Now, you see this AEIOU below, right? That is a way of understanding which are those activities which are giving you high energy and high engagement. The whole idea is to try and understand what was that activity, what environment was it in, who were you interacting with when you were really energized. In somebody else's case, it was just when they're having a glass of wine with their wife in the evening, and for them, the way they talked about it, they discussed stuff. He just felt relaxed and loved it, right? So the interaction, what was it? What are the objects in use? What were being used? Was the technology product being used? Were they sharing an iPad? Were they sharing headphones and enjoying the same music? So it is all around how do you understand where in what context that activity fitted, and that's the AEIOU piece of it. So I think I went on to the next one while I was talking. So here it is. what we're doing, where we're involved in the activity, what we're interacting with people or machines, where you're interacting with objects, who else was there to make the interaction positive or negative. So it is all, like I said, it sets a context for the activity that you really love, that energizes you. It also sets a context for the activities that you hate. So it's a good barometer, a good contrast for you to get an idea of, I absolutely hate doing this. You know, filling that Excel spreadsheet for budgeting in my department, I hate doing it. I ideally would want to give to somebody, but because I'm the only one there, or I'm a small team, I end up doing it. You know, those kind of things. So it actually helps you understand what really works and what doesn't work for your life. Now, you've kind of gone through this whole thing, right? So you, across your dashboard, across your work view and life view, across this, you kind of get a feel for who you are. Now comes the more important step, which is, how do you define? Remember reframing the problem, defining the problem. So the Stanford professors use a bit of jargon here, and I kind of like it here, but they call it dysfunctional beliefs. And these, on the left-hand side of the table, are the statements people make. And these are not written by me, right? I mean, the second one is written by me because I do believe that networking is just hustling people, but networking is actually asking for help. It's not hustling people. And because of that, I kind of changed my way, the way I ask for help. I just don't call people and say, what's up, what are you doing? If I don't have any help to ask for, I don't bother them, you know. So it's kind of, so if the dysfunctional belief is I'm stuck, well, you can choose to reframe that into a statement saying I'm never stuck because I can generate a lot of ideas. Now that is a different way of looking at the same belief. The last one, right? If you're successful, you will be happy. Now, again, it depends who defines what is successful. Question is successful and happiness the same thing? Again, you can always say that if I find my true calling, then that is happy for me. Okay? Because I'm designing a life that works for me. Reframing, that's why it's very, very powerful. And if you remember, I talked about defining the statement. These are statements. These are your problem statements. These are statements that you make, which affect how you deal with it when you move forward. Okay? So there are two kinds of problems that crop up here. Okay? One is called gravity problems. There are two problems, gravity problems and anchor problems. Now, again, when you express a problem statement, for example, in this case, if you look down on the slide on the right-hand side, I can't get promoted to VP because there aren't too many positions at the top. Yeah, that's a standard. I mean, the corporate pyramid, everybody knows, is a pyramid. So the higher you go, the less jobs there are. And the people who are there generally don't want to leave. So if you are in a hurry, your choices are, well, either figure out how to move out, or maybe you can reframe the problem saying that maybe there are individual contributor vice president positions that I can explore. Okay? Provided, of course, that for you, the VP title and the salary that goes with it is important. Again, it depends how you express this. Now, gravity problems, they say, are basically circumstances. It can't be changed, or it is too difficult to change, or you are not willing to do what it takes to change. For example, if you live in Mumbai and there's a VP position available in Hanoi in Vietnam, you will not move because your parents, you have family there, your wife doesn't want to move or whatever, right? So you're not willing to make that change. So it's fine. Then it becomes a gravity problem for you. Again, if it's not actionable, it's not a problem, which basically means that you cannot take action on it. Then it's just a simple circumstance. It's like saying, at a very radical case, you know, life sucks because I'm in a wheelchair. Yeah, well, if you're not willing to do much about it, then it becomes a circumstance, and then this whole thing doesn't help you. The second kind of problem that is generally encountered is called anchor problems. And anchor problems basically, oops, sorry, did I do something wrong? Is when you are stuck on a solution that you have identified as a problem. And in this case, this is again personal experience, so I can see it's articulated very well. I love boating and being out on the water, so I must buy a boat, but unfortunately it's too expensive. Now that's a problem, right? If you want to get on the water and you love boating, you have to buy a boat, and it is, but unfortunately boats are in millions of dollars, or maybe slightly cheaper, but they're still expensive. Now I could have looked at this, but I chose to reframe it as I could charter a boat, which basically means I don't need to own one. When I feel like going out, I go to the marina here and I say, okay, I want one boat for 4 hours. What is the cost? Spend in the money and get on with it. Or I could become a part owner of one or offer to be the skipper on a friend's boat. Okay. Now, these could be the reframing for the fact that I must buy a boat. So, anchor problems are something that you don't give them, you don't have the solution merged with the problem. And these honestly are kind of the they are the easier ones to solve because they are the simpler ones. The gravity problems are the tougher ones. Okay, so we've kind of done the whole who we are, what are my values, what is my problem, and the problem is, yeah, I don't know what to do with the rest of my life. It could be as basic as that, or I want some ideas on what to do with the next 20 years of my life. Here are your ideas. They're called Odyssey Plans. Basically, the whole idea is you build 3 5-year plans. As you can see, there are only 2 here on the slide. Well, because I didn't build a third one. I should have, but I didn't. And this again you can do without doing any of the good time journal or any of that thing. It kind of helps you put it in perspective when you do that activity because it helps you understand what really drives you. It helps you create plans for the future. But if you already know what you want to do, then just go straight to this one. So you kind of imagine you are Neo in the Matrix, and you're going, okay, I want to have 3 different lives. I want to imagine 3 different lives. What would they be? So you sit back, you have a glass of wine by the side one day, and you're going, okay, I want to imagine over the next 5 years, one life, which is whatever I'm doing now, plus that faint idea that I've been nursing for a while. Maybe I want to create an NGO. Maybe I want to help with orphans. Maybe I want to teach kids mathematics. And these are kind of social service ones. But the other one could be maybe I just want to play golf. Hey, nothing wrong with that life as well. Okay? Maybe I want to play golf at a certain level of competence. I want to participate on the tour circuit. It could be 20 things. Maybe I want to become a yoga master. So you could say the plan one is one with what my life is or what I'm planning to do with it in the future. Now, when you build a plan, it is meant to be across 5 years. Okay? And it's kind of, if you do it pictorially, it fits, you get to view it a little better. So you kind of draw a headline around it, you kind of do, you put a headline which is like a newspaper headline. You say, okay, this is my 6-word headline of what this life is. Below you can see some of the famous dashboards again. Some of them the dashboards are, do I have the resources for it? Is the plan coherent? Do I have confidence in the ability to do it? And I like it. It's kind of literally, yeah, I like this. This plan kind of makes sense for me. I love it, so why don't I figure out to do it? Life 2, again, thinking back is, if you suddenly discover, shit, I can't do life 1 at all. I've lost my job. I think being a yoga instructor is not such a good thing for my kids' education. I need some money. So life 2 is, if life 1 was suddenly gone, what would you do? Okay? Again, it's the same philosophy. You build it and you give it a headline and you talk about it. It could also be that it's different from life 1. And life 1 is done. So let's say 5 years down the line, life 1 is done. You're already a yoga master. Now what? So you could build life 2. Now life 3 is, what would you do if money were no object? As in, you had all the resources, you have all the savings, and you basically, there are no constraints other than family, maybe whatever. But the whole idea is that a, a plan which has limited constraints. And in this case, the authors have decided that it is money, because that unfortunately is the biggest constraint for what we do in life. So you build these 3 plans and you look at them and you go, hey, this doesn't make sense, because I'm not sure that I really am clear about being the yoga master. Now, if you are not clear, then maybe you need to go back to your good time journal and say, there is an activity called yoga I did here. I've been doing it for 2 weeks. I've been going to the studio, working on yoga, but I don't really enjoy it. So maybe being a yoga master is not for me. So you see how that correlates back to what really you were doing in terms of your good time journal. Maybe you go back even further and find out that when you, in your health dashboard, yoga did play a part for keeping you healthy. You may not have enjoyed it, but it just kept you healthy. But at least then you know that becoming a yoga master is not the thing for you, because you did it because you wanted to keep healthy, and you basically don't like it that much. Okay. On the other hand, if you did enjoy playing golf and you do want to become a tour pro at whatever level, or you want to play in a tournament at some stage in life, you go back and you say, when I was playing, when I hit that fancy score, when I hit a few birdies on the course, I was very happy. It rocked. It energized me. It got me back on the course. So you can kind of correlate your Odyssey plan with a lot of the activities. So even if you've not done those activities, when you look at the Odyssey plan, you can say, hey, maybe I need to do that because that will help me do this a little better. So again, there is a interaction and a relationship between all these tools, but they are not sequential by any long shot. Okay, that is the point here. So, okay, so now we've done Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Ah, perfect. Thank you. Okay. I don't know what happened there. Thank you for letting me know, guys. Otherwise, I would have been talking into the Pacific Ocean, no, Indian Ocean, because that's where the cable runs. Hey, thank you, Sushma. All right. Okay, so I think you lost me at prototype. So let me rewind a bit on my 2-minute spiel, which I was talking into my computer. You've done an Odyssey plan, right? You've got ideas of what to do. But how do you now actually do something without going full in, without throwing up your current life and really trying to figure out? I was talking about the golf example. Now, if I want to play in a tournament, right, I need to be of a certain standard. I enjoy the game, I like playing it, I invest the time behind it, but I really don't know. So the prototype bit is you actually go shadow a tour professional, somebody who's actually played a tournament. You see how much they practice. You see how much money they spend on golfing equipment and coaches and things like that. Once you do that, then you know whether that life is for you, because you say, hey, even if I need to play in a tournament, I need to practice like 4 hours a day, and I need to do that 5 days a week or 6 days a week. I do not have that kind of time. So it's all nice and good that I put this as my life, and unless I'm prepared to spend that time, I will not be able to invest that time. So that is one way that you prototype. You just shadow somebody. Okay, if you don't want to shadow somebody, you talk to somebody who's already a golfing pro or has played in tournaments. And you say, okay, what does it take to play in a tournament? This is a simple interview, right? This is like calling them up and saying, hey, I need some help trying to figure out if I can do this at my age and my playing level and my standard. How do I do this? You just talk to them. Maybe that will help you. Okay. So in terms of prototyping your life ideas, you definitely don't want to go full in. That's what the word prototype means. It means you try a scaled down version, quick and dirty version, where you do it and then you understand whether it works for you or not. And if it doesn't work for you, maybe you just kind of shift it a bit so that you still get the alternate life, but you say, you know what, I don't think it's worth my time becoming a golfing pro. But maybe I want a handicap which is far less. Okay? Let me give you another example, right? Maybe you want to go do fundraising for your local orphanage. Now you think it's well and good to do fundraising because you believe that it will help the orphanage, which it will. But you don't know whether you're good at fundraising or not, right? The quickest way to find out whether you want to leave your current job and become the fundraising director for your orphanage is to actually go talk to somebody who does fundraising for a living. Or you just shadow them for a day or 2 days or 3 days and see what they go through to raise funds. And if you don't like that life, you just step away. Maybe you do an internship, you just say, you know what, I just want to volunteer to be a fundraiser for you for 2 months in my holidays. I'll come there half the time and then I'll just see whether it works for me or not. So that is the way you prototype your ideas in life. It's literally like prototyping products. Or prototyping software, all of you are in software believe in the minimum viable product, right? So now the MVP is what we are talking about here. You build something, see whether it works or not with the customer. If they don't like it, you should not have any issues throwing it away. Same thing with products. You build something, customer doesn't like it, you throw it away. Or you change it such that you can fine tune it so that it becomes more and more relevant to the customer or more and more relevant to you. So that's what the prototyping thing is around. And these are different ways that you can do it. Projects, internships, scale down version and things like that. Okay. Remember earlier on we said that the whole design process is actually a collaborative process. It is never you sitting in isolation in the Himalayas trying to figure out, okay, I will design my life. Well, it helps if you have a bunch of people, at least the people who are close to you, with you on this journey. It helps a lot because they are the ones who can give you feedback, give you ideas, support you when it's needed, help you with networking when it's needed. Now, there are 3 different kinds of team players that you would want to have when you are doing a life design in a way. One of them are your supporters, people who have a close relationship with you, but who are basically just supporting you. They could be your friends, they could be your cousins, they could be anybody, right? The second are players, and the players typically are active participants in your design. They could be your co-workers. They're the people whom you normally tend to do some things with you. And the third bunch of people whom you need on your team are the intimates. So think of this as a basketball team, right? You have a shooter, you have a defending guard, you have a runner, and you have a captain. And you're trying to figure out what everyone's role is. But basically the idea is to make the team successful. But in this case, you are the team, so make you successful. The intimates are obviously people who are really immediately close to you, your wife, your kids, if your kids are old enough to give you feedback, your relatives, but also the one who will be most affected by your life design. right? So if you are in a high-paying bank job, you hate it, and you want to give it up and become an author, like Mr. Ashwin Sanghi, well, you better be prepared for your wife and your kids to say, you know what, we're not going to earn any money doing this for a while. How are we going to support our lifestyle? Or how are we going to support ourselves? Or what are you planning to do while you support us, while we do this stuff like that? So they are the kind of people who will be affected by your life, and I think you need them on board in any case because, like I said, it's never done in isolation unless you're a lucky bachelor with no family, and then of course you can do it all by yourself. But then you have parents, you have relatives. Humans are very rarely an island, So I guess the point I'm making here is that you need a good design team around you to give you the best life design. That's what comes out at the end with the life design. Okay, I think we are kind of coming to almost to the end. Now, that when you do these prototype testing, right, the whole idea is that you also adapt. Now, when you do a prototype test, you kind of say, okay, was it successful? Wasn't it successful? Was it because I screwed up? Because I'm just, it's an issue. It's a stupid mistake which I make and I should not make it again, then it is recoverable. Is it a weakness that I have? So again, coming back to fundraising as an example. If you want to test it out and you go there, now a simple screw up would be, hey, I called this person who's a fundraising director for an NGO in Mumbai, and I wasn't sure what to ask her. I did not line that call up well, or I went to ask this golf pro what it takes to play golf, and I didn't even know whether he was good enough to play golf. It's a stupid screw up. A weakness obviously is something that you keep doing, a screw up you do over and over again, and that's a facet of your personality. If you are not a person of details, then you will always screw up in details. And trust me, I know because I'm not a person for details. So I know that is a weakness. So whenever I have to do anything really detailed in my life, I just ask my banker wife to check. It's much easier. So she kind of says, okay, this is not good. She knows the details. But the growth opportunities are basically where you know why you screwed up and you can fix it. Then it's fine. At the end of it all, right, what you get through this whole process is an insight into understanding what are the critical success factors for your success, what you would do differently so that you would succeed at your prototype, or how would you modify the prototype so that you can actually get it to work. Okay, so let's go back to the example with the old lady and her walking cane. Now, when this team actually designed that, the first screw up they made, the first problem they had was they didn't know how she would pick up paper with a hook kind of a screw up, a hook kind of attachment at the other end, because that would tear the paper. Then they were trying to figure out, can you put a suction cup at the other end and then use a hook at one end and see a claw at the other end, a claw and a suction cup, and then see if we can work it. They realized they couldn't do that either. But when they basically went through this whole thing while she was using the cane, she asked them, she said, why can't you put two heads on the cane? Why does it have to be only one head? One head can be for picking up paper and the other head can be the claw. So they said, oh, that is true. And basically they prototyped a two-ended cane for her. Right? Have you seen this cane with the three legs? You can assume it's a two-leg cane, right? One was to pick up the papers and other stuff that you cannot pick up from the floor. The other one was a claw where you could pick up any object which was not flat. And she seemed pretty happy with it. So in terms of insights, that's how you would get the insights to this. Okay, so just as a summary, right? All I would want to leave you with, I mean, these are my contact details if you guys want to know more. But before I start the questions, I want to leave you with the fact that designing your life is actually in three big chunks. Okay, there's one chunk around getting to know yourself, and you can decide to pick. I mean, it's like, okay, let's talk about it more like a buffet meal, right? There's one starter buffet with whatever you want. You want salad, you want your dahi batata puri, you want your ham and hams and cheeses and whatnot, that's a starter. That chunk is around getting to know yourself, and you can actually pick any one of the tools there to get to know yourself. Okay, if you do all three, you get to know yourself better. If you know some of it, nothing like it, you pick only one, pick only one. The second one, which is your main course, is all centered around defining your problem, reframing it, and coming up with your Odyssey plans. Right? That is the second chunk. Again, you can choose to get to just go to the main course, like I do in most booklets. I just keep everything in the form, and say, I just want to do my Odyssey plan first because I know what I want. Then no problem. Just go ahead and do that Odyssey plan, right? As you do it, maybe you're one of the lucky few who really knows this is how it works, and lovely, I got my Odyssey plan. The third part is the dessert. And the dessert is around the prototyping of the ideas, the putting together the team to do it, and it's all around the doing. It's all around grabbing the gulab jamun there, right? All around grabbing the ice cream there. It's actually going there, picking it up and eating it. So these are three chunks. Well, you can't really do the third one without the second one. That's about it. I mean, you could make a whole meal out of desserts. Again, sometimes I used to do that when I was younger. Don't do that anymore, can't afford the calories. But definitely you can pick any tool to kind of come up with ideas that will help you with your second innings. Now, the beauty of designing a life, I keep saying second innings, right? Because I assume that it is more relevant for people who are actually heading into second innings. However, at Stanford, there's a course called Designing Your Career. It is similar principles, slight modifications to the tools, but it is the most popular course on campus and typically very difficult to get into. So you can do that. You can do that in mid-careers, saying, you know what, hey, I've done like 15 years of this job, maybe I need to do something else. Maybe I need to find a different career, right? And how do I get about doing that? So it's, again, it is applicable across age groups. You could do it. In fact, as I'm talking to you now, the last couple of months, I've been helping a student of a design school in India. He actually he doesn't know what he wants to do. He was suggested, and he's my friend's son. So he's saying, you know what, I want you to help my son try to figure out what to do next. And you know how it works in India, right? The father always wants to know what's best for his son, and the son doesn't want to do what the father wants, and things like that. But anyway, I'm trying to, the same toolkit is being used for a student who doesn't know what to do after they graduate, or what to do even in the graduation. So with that, I will stop, and I would say thank you so much for listening to me. I know there were a few issues with audio. I'm not sure why, maybe in between, but I can take questions now, and I think the time now is it's 4 o'clock. So I think have maybe half an hour for questions. So thank you so much, and if there are any questions, you can put up on the chat. Okay, there's a question. Can we get the presentation emailed to us? From Ranjit. Maybe write to me later. Yeah, Seema, that's okay, not a problem. You can write to me later. Ranjit, I think the presentation, I can email it to you, but I think it's going to be available also on the IMB site. Okay, there is one more question on, or if you want the presentation, just email me and I can email it to you straight away. Yeah, you can private email me on my email address that you see on the screen there. What would be a good reference read on the subject matter? Okay, there's a book called Designing Your Life, but on it, I would read the book, but at the same time, I would pick up something called Designing Your Life Workbook. That is something that you would go through to actually do these things. It is an excellent resource, so you can use that. Can you please elaborate a little bit of, okay, another one. Can you please elaborate a little bit What next after creating 0-3 life cycle of 5 years each? Okay. So once you create an alternate lives, you go and prototype them. And again, you prototype any of the 3 Odyssey plans. You don't have to prototype the first one or the second one or the third one. Like I mentioned, maybe in the plan 3, which was the money no resource plan, you had something like, you know what, I want to go and I want to climb Mount Everest. Sure. Maybe that was part of Odyssey plan where money no object nothing. So you could prototype it. You could just go figure out, talk to somebody in the Mountain Institute to what it takes to climb Mount Everest. You could talk to somebody who actually climbed Mount Everest, or you could talk to the Sherpas in Nepal who climb Mount Everest, ask them what it is about. You could try walking to base camp and figuring out whether that works for you. So basically, after you prototype, after you do the Odyssey plan, each Odyssey plan actually is what you want to do. So you will be able to then prototype it. So, so Sunil, I hope that answers your question. Okay, there's one for Hemant which says, is there a designing a career-like course available in India? Not to my knowledge, but I mean, if you think there's a market for it, I can get the Stanford people in India to do a course on it. Now, the thing is, okay, I think it's a good point also to say that the designing a life thing is very modular. You can do a weekend workshop over it. You can do a 8-session course with it. You can do a 3-month course with it. Depends on how long each module is, how much time you give between modules. So yeah, you could do. Then it's very modular. It doesn't necessarily have to be a course. Is there a literature or a book available on this designing a life? Yes, it is. It's on Amazon. It's called Designing a Life. A HEMA Stanford course that you're referring to, it is a paid course. Yes, you have to be a student to take the course. Yes, and thank you. Okay, are the exercise tools to be used on a daily basis and for how long? What was your aha moment when you knew you had designed your life? Well, the exercise tools are not on a daily basis. The only daily basis is a good time journal. So once you've gone through this exercise of designing your life, you can always, it becomes a kind of like a mindset, right? You can always refer to it. So for me, the aha moment was when I discovered that I could actually write. And I did talk to a published author and say, what does it take for me to write a book? And she told me, this is how it works, and this is how you publish things, and this is what it is, this is what effort it takes. And yes, it has taken me that time, but I did go down that path, and I'm very happy that I did because I'm really enjoying the writing process. And I'm close to submitting my manuscript to editors now, or to publishing houses for publishing, right? So I think for me the aha moment was that I discovered I could write when I went through my Odyssey plan. Are there mentors who could help in creating Odyssey plans? Yes, I could help you. So Kumar, you can just write to me, and if you want, we could do something together. What were the challenges you faced while you were writing your Odyssey plans? Okay, well, I think one of the challenges I actually faced was being able to articulate it really well and draw it out well and give it a headline, proper headline. There were so many things I wanted to do, right? Because I said this is my second innings, and I can do so many things. I can set up a social venture. I can become a dog trainer. I want to become a senior golfing pro. It was like being a kid in a candy store, right? And honestly, I had to keep going back to my good time journal. I used that a lot to really understand whether I could do some of the Odyssey plans. So the challenges was that I had a very imaginative brain, and I could really do a lot of things. And I discovered that I don't necessarily enjoy doing all of them. So when I did prototype 2 or 3 things, I threw out a lot of things. I didn't prototype them at all. Okay. One more. Can a college student benefit from this program? How do I know if he is ready to undertake this? A college student can definitely benefit from this program. About being ready, my experience with this student whom I'm talking to is I've kept the father out so that there is no disturbance, but I've also got a written contract with them saying that they will work with me through the whole process, right? If I say good time journal, I need to see something in 3 weeks, then they're supposed to send me something by 3 weeks, and he does send me something in a couple of weeks. I have to prod him a bit, but at least he's being sincere. So I ask for a sincerity in the approach. And honestly, it's not, you're a human being, right? And you do have ideas, you do have thoughts, you have your issues, you have your shortcomings, you think of shortcomings. So as long as the person commits to doing this with you, I think it is good. Okay, where can we find Designing Your Life workbook? Yes, it is also on Amazon. There you go. Thank you, Abhijit. There's a link for Designing Your Life workbook. Okay, it's from Anand, sorry. Okay, any more questions? Yeah, all right. There's one from Ashish Jain. When you had two close choices of activities in the Odyssey plan, how did you prioritize which action choice to follow first? Very, very, very good question. The question was, okay, the question is, why do you need to prioritize? If you have two things, you can prototype both. You don't have to prototype one before the other. Remember, these are options for your life, and life doesn't follow sequences, right? It is not sequential. If you wanted to have two balls in the air at the same time, sure, you can have two balls in the air at the same time. But also, having said that, part of how you prioritize is looking at the dashboards below when the choices that you put. Do you have the resources? How much do you like it? Is it coherent enough? Do you have the skills to do it? So all those things will actually affect your choice of which one to do first. So typically when you take an Odyssey plan and you look at it, you'll find that there are these four things below the four dashboards. This is what I'm talking. Do I like it? Is it coherent? You'll find that something you like but it is not coherent because you don't have the skill set for it. So then you just say, you know what? If I need to get a skill set, then I need to go take a course. Then obviously it's going to take time. So that's how you prioritize at least the timing between the prototypes. Thank you, Pradeep. I'm happy that you enjoyed it. Okay, any other questions? Thank you, Merlin. Perfect. So you guys, I don't think there are any more questions coming. If you do have questions, feel free to email me, and I'm happy to respond. You can WhatsApp me as well. This number, the cell phone I have is on WhatsApp as well, so I'm good with that. You can shoot it to me on Twitter or on Skype or whatever, up to you. Okay? So thank you so much. Thank you for listening in, and goodbye, and all the best for designing your life.